Before we get too far into this course, let's talk a little bit about what kind of settings you should be using to import and export your videos as you create them. I'm here on the YouTube help support page for the recommended upload encoding settings that they recommend, and I'll quickly go through and describe these, then we'll go into Adobe Premiere and actually show you how those look when you're exporting a video. So to start, for the container, they recommend an MP4. And if you're filming on maybe a Canon camera, or if you're working on a Mac, occasionally you might find a container, which is the extension. You know, if you have, file1.mp4 or file1, you might see .mov. Regardless, you want the container in your export to be .mp4 for the video. For the audio, you want an AAC codec, and that should be in stereo or 5.1 surround. I'm sure most of your videos will just be in regular stereo audio. For the video codec, this is important. You want it to be H.264. And this is still what Google recommends as of February 2019. I'm assuming they're going to start recommending H.265 at some point. So reference this help page and see if they've updated that in the future. But for now, this is the codec that you want to use to compress the video. So the video codec is what takes the uncompressed video or less compressed video and makes it into a smaller, more manageable size for YouTube. The frame rate is just exactly that. When you capture the video on your camera, if you're familiar with your camera settings, you have options like 24p, 30p, 60p, super slow-mo is 120 frames per second. We shoot all our videos in 24 frames per second. That's just a personal preference. You can shoot in 30 or 60 if you wish, but YouTube supports 24, 25, 25 if you're in the UK or Europe, 30, 48, 50, and 60. So the three most common are going to be 24, 30, and 60 if you're in the United States. 60 is going to look a little smoother, but it's going to be less cinematic. 24 is going to be the most cinematic, and then 30 is going to be something like TV. Bitrate is the amount of data that each second of video has, and so you can just reference this chart here depending on if you're uploading in 4K or 1080p. We personally still upload in 1080p. I know most creators probably at this point upload in 4K. We just do not find it worth the trouble to upgrade all of our editing software, our editing computer, our cameras, cards need to be faster, the file sizes are harder to manage. Everything is much more difficult in 4K, and personally, we don't own any computers that can display 4K. Actually, that's not true. Our MacBooks can display 4K. Regardless, we watch videos in 1080p at the very most, and so that is what we upload. Their recommended bit rates are between 8 and 12, depending on the frame rate. And then finally, the resolution and aspect ratio. Resolution is whether it's 1080p or 4K or 720p. The aspect ratio is the shape of the video, and so most YouTube videos and most movies and pretty much every screen you see these days has a 16:9 aspect ratio. The camera you're shooting on probably shoots in 16:9, so you don't really need to mess with this. But in case it is an option, you do not want 4:3. You want 16:9, although I have noticed that YouTube will support now alternate ratios. If you want something wider and more cinematic, the player will naturally adjust to that. So this is actually outdated, I believe. Let's head over to Premiere so I can show you exactly what this looks like, and we'll bring up, I already had this open. Here is our project for this course. I have all of my sequences here across the top, and we're just on our second video here, which is the choosing a title. So I'm in my sequence. If I just go to File, Export, and Export Media, here we are with all the options for our export. If you're using Adobe Premiere, they make this very simple. You don't need to worry about anything. Simply click the preset here on the preset button, scroll all the way down, and depending on if you're shooting in 4K or shooting in HD, simply click it, and then you're done. Click Export, and it's ready to go. If you're not using Premiere, or if you're using an older version, the settings are all the same, so let's quickly go through. So the basic video settings here, this is the resolution, 1920 by 1080. So that's the 1080p resolution that we're using. The frame rate we're using is 23.976. And the encoding, I want to get down to bit rate. So the YouTube preset on this has a target bit rate of 16. YouTube, recommends 8 to 12, so that's just a little bit more, but it's not overkill. And then if we scroll over to, click on audio, you'll notice the default format is also AAC. So if your editing software gives you the option of MPEG or AAC, remember YouTube recommends AAC. You can also make sure that the format is H.264. If YouTube starts recommending H.265, that will be an option in the new versions of Premiere, I'm sure, and you can use that as well. But you want to make sure that you're using a compressed codec. For example, QuickTime, if you're on a Mac, will probably be the default as a .mov file. That's just too much, or too big rather, for YouTube to handle. So format H.264, preset YouTube 1080p, choose your resolution, choose your bit rate, and then make sure your audio is set to AAC. Again, if you have the preset, you don't need to worry about this at all. Click export, and there it goes. We'll see you in the next one.